Hello, cyberspace. It's me, Angie, and I welcome both you and your ears to an episode of Life, Love, Music, and Space Travel. In case you're wondering who Angie is, I'm Angie, and I'm super stoked to spend some time sharing with y'all some of my experiences and thoughts on living, loving, music, and space travel, or spiritual experiences as I often refer to as space travel. A rather broad spectrum, right? Well, my hope is to always share something that resonates with, intrigues, excites, or perhaps inspires you. On that note, I invite you to sit back, buckle up, and take a little trip out into the cosmos with me. Hello, cyberspace. It's me, Angie, coming to you with episode number 27 of my podcast, Life, Love, Music, and Space Travel. Thanks for joining me. It's been about 10 days, I think, since I released my last episode, and the focus of this week's episode, it's actually coming to you midweek, but the focus of it is in the words of the spectacular David Bowie, changes, turn and face the strange, changes, change, however you want to look at it, whatever word you want to use. I am heavily focused on everything change. And I'm feeling pretty good. I have to say, this last 10 days it's been a great week and a half almost. A lot of stuff has taken place, I suppose, mentally, just kind of catching up. And I'll talk a little bit about everything that's been going on for me. Changes in the season. That's probably one of the biggest thing that we can all sort of connect with right now, which it is no longer summer, at least here in the United States, and probably some other areas of the world. It's no longer summer. It is now officially fall or autumn, whatever you would choose to call it. I've noticed a difference, at least here in North Carolina. There has been some change with the seasons. I was looking out the kitchen window the other day and the light is different. I guess that's because the sun is at a different location, or the planet has moved. I'm not great with all the planetary stuff and whatnot, but there is a shift. I can feel it. The weather here has changed a little bit. It's actually, I think this weekend they are calling for some sort of hurricane. Maybe it's Hurricane Ian that is possibly going to bring some weather to this part of the country. And I believe is bringing weather to other parts of the world right now already. But the change of seasons marks time, I suppose, in a strange way. And I'm admittedly enjoying what has been a temperature change here. It's cooler at night. I actually said tonight when I went outside, I said to my mom, it's cold out. And it's far from cold in comparison to, I believe, my old home state of Colorado, at least my home state for the last 27 years. It's pretty cold there and has been pretty chilly. We're not going to get anywhere near their temperature, but changes. I am rolling with the change of the seasons for sure, at this point anyway. Changes are not easy. I'm just going to say they're not easy for me. Generally, change has not been my go-to. There was a time when I had no interest in changing. I don't believe I'm the only one out there in the world who feels that way. I know I'm not. And as I express often, I would love to hear y'all's perspective on change and how it affects you. I'm going to put that out there and just let you know that I would love it if you went to my website, www.lifelovemusicandSpaceTravel.com. Click on the microphone. Leave me a voice message of how you feel about change, how it affects you. Are you rolling with it? Is it getting easier? I chatted with some friends tonight and I talked about my change in perspective, I guess, and the change in how I react to life. Man, it's gotten so much better and smoother, but I know that's because of some changes that took place in my life a long time ago, changes that I was not looking for. The biggest one for me when life really changed was when I decided, because life was a big shit pile, that I needed to put the drink down. That was a change I was not necessarily super hip to making, but it was necessary at the time. For me, it was the small change, I guess, I was hoping would stave off some other cataclysmic change. But with putting it down came some cataclysmic change. It's just been a progressive process ever since. Today, literally today, I'm really excited about changes. I've mentioned it so many times. This podcast was brought about by change. Anyone who is listening to me and has listened, and I really appreciate all of my listeners out there. I started this podcast because of my grand life change. Divorce, house sale, had to move out of my home state of 27 years. Moved to a whole new state. I'm living presently a brand new life. Very different from the life that I've lived for the last 18 years. I was not welcoming that change, but I knew it was really the only direction to move was forward, very much against my will, having to ask the universe, God, higher power, force, source, whatever was out there to please help me move forward. The only way out is through. I've heard it said many times. And since then, life is not necessarily the way I want it to be. And people are not doing what I want them to do. But I've also come to a place where, thank goodness, life is not the way I want it to be, because I really would shortchange myself. It just seems to be getting better. So my intention kind of through this episode is to hopefully pass on some hope or inspiration for anyone out there who might be struggling with change. I know you're out there. I'm just here today to say, or tonight, I happen to be recording this at night. You might listen to it in the morning, but I am here to say, good golly, move forward and through it to the best of your ability. And things don't even have to be drastic. I'm actually in the process of some more change, the thought of changing a career. I mean, there's so many areas of where change can take place, but I'm really contemplating, and have been for quite some time, but the idea of moving out of what has been my career for 30 plus years. Not that I'm going to stop doing it completely, but I'm really trying to mentally change my perspective on it as being where I make my money. I would like to transition into the idea that I'm going to pay my bills or take care of my life through other outlets. I have had an eBay business for years, and I really want to jump further into that. I'm really hoping to do something with the podcast eventually. I'm hoping that I can possibly do something with it that allows me to offset what used to be the restaurant, and it's frightening. It's frightening. But I had a moment recently at my place of employment, I find it funny, where a customer asked to not have me wait on them. And in my 30 years plus, I have had, I think, 3 different experiences, this being the third, where people have asked me to not wait on them. And they've all been kind of ridiculous, but the 2 prior were kind of disturbing and really messed with me and frightened me because I couldn't contemplate. I needed the restaurant. I was fearful of losing my job. I was fearful of how it might affect my employment, all of that stuff. And this experience was very different. I feel like I happened to be waiting on some people who were actually part of a church group. And somebody in particular was offended by something I said, and they asked me to not wait on them. It was my pleasure to have somebody else serve them. But I really saw it with this perspective change that has taken place over the years for me. I was able to see it, or I'm choosing to see it, as a gift from the higher power, for goodness sake. They were a church group, and I found it was pushing me out the door. That's how I felt. It was one more, egging on of, Ange, it's time to make some changes. And it feels pretty good. I didn't get thrown off course. I finished the rest of my shift. I waited on other tables. That's the way that I'm choosing to look at it. And that's change. I don't know how many times I'm going to say change in this episode, but the idea of doing something different. Holy cow. What a concept. At 51, making a career change. I was reminded by my therapist of who I got to see this week, which has been pretty exciting. I really feel like I'm gaining nuggets of wisdom from working with this person and getting some insight. They reminded me that my transitioning out of, let's say, my old career into a new one, I'm not taking seriously uncalculated risks. I'm making very calculated risks. I have had an eBay business for 15 years. I will soon have 27 episodes of my podcast out. My living situation happens to be now that I no longer have a mortgage or a heavy overhead, and really am sitting in an opportunistic moment to make this kind of jump and shift into something new. But I still have the old creeping doubt that comes in and tries to keep me, quote, in a safe space. But that safety is really kind of a false sense of security for me. My staying in this business is not sustainable. I know it. I've had a really good run for the last 8 months. I have mentioned how I had really kind of been, prior to getting here to the Carolinas and transitioning out of my old life situation, I was the super efficient, bitchy waitress. I had a few different gigs. I was working at a diner. I was also doing some very high-end catering, and I was working at a friend of mine had opened up a world market kitchen with delicious food. I'm going to give props to all of them. I was working at the Eagle Diner in Eagle, Colorado. Please go and eat there. Some fantastic people. It's great food. Diner food, yummy, burritos, tamales, pancakes, and all that jazz. And then I was working for Red Maple Catering, and they do some very high-end, wonderful work. Their food is delicious. They do weddings and dinners, and they have all kinds of opportunities. I miss them. And then I was working for my dear friend Michael Jors, and that was at Pickled Kitchen and Pantry. He puts out some delicious food also. But I was not necessarily the person you always wanted waiting on you, especially at the diner or Pickled at times. And since being here in North Carolina, I've had a really good run. My life is much different right now. Weight has been lifted off of me. I'm not carrying a lot of heavy weight around my living situation or my dying marriage, and life is not as dark. But I feel like I have reached the end of my 12th wind in the restaurant industry. I would really like for it to be my side gig, maybe my break from some other things. So anyway, change is coming into play, and I'm grateful for the perspective of embracing it. And it's coming with a lot of different things too. I also recently, last Wednesday, so it's been almost a week, but I had a ketamine infusion, a booster. It had been almost 2 months, and I was feeling as though I hadn't been taking my medicine. That's the only way I can really explain it. A change in me is even talking openly about this. I really sort of lived kind of the martyr lifestyle for a long time, where I felt like I didn't need any help, and I was not interested in taking anything to help with my emotional state or my mental state, any of that kind of stuff. Instead of doubting myself, and what I understood was that for me, the ketamine has been incredibly life-changing and life-saving. And I scheduled my appointment, got in there, and really felt the results Wednesday. And so I say that from the perspective of, for anyone out there, if you're on some sort of medicine, please stick with it. I know we change it and go back and forth, and I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nurse practitioner, I'm not a psychologist or a psychiatrist or a counselor or anything like that. I'm just a garden variety human who is just suggesting that you stay on track. I should say I need to stay on track. And after my infusion last Wednesday, I feel a bazillion times better. There's slow changes for me taking place in regards to continuing to take care of myself and do what I know that works for me. And also, there's the underlying disclaimer for anyone who's unfamiliar with ketamine. I am not out partying at a rave or using it recreationally. It is a fantastic medicine for those struggling with depression, PTSD, trauma. There's many, many uses that it helps work with chronic pain, lots of stuff. So please do a little bit of Googling, look up some stuff on it. And if you're struggling with any of those issues, perhaps it might be the medicine that works for you. It's worked for me. I have an episode on it. I feel like it's episode 19, my Ketamine Chronicle, if you want to know a little bit more about it. My dear friend Alex Mintling talks a lot about his experience with it on his podcast, The Builder's Journey. You can find it on all the streaming platforms. And so I went into this last infusion with an intention of being okay with not knowing what's going on with all the constant changes. My desire is to be more comfortable with the constant changes. It's been a pretty powerful result for me just to kind of have a focus on that. I love the spiritual life. I love spiritual growth. It helps life make sense to me. There's so much going on that is out of my control. I have really no idea how things are going to play out. Who does? Nobody does. I don't know any fortune tellers. Perhaps some people have a little bit more insight than me, but I don't want to be spun out of control or living in a place of fear because I don't know what's going on. My intention was to go in, allow the medicine to do what it does, soak into my brain, allow my neural pathways to rebuild themselves or however that stuff works, and be able to sit in this place of I'm okay with not knowing what's going on. And my goodness, I really do feel like there has been a mental shift for sure. Relationships changing. When I can sit back and understand that life is not playing out the way I think it would like it to, afraid it's going to, all of that. It turns out when I take my hands off of the wheel, it turns out so much better than anything I could ever put together. For quite a while now, I have been able to more often than not sit back and just say, all right, life, do your thing. I wake up each day. I ask for some direction of thinking. I request letting go of what Angie wants. And then I go out and live a day. That has taken a conscious effort of, first of all, acknowledging that when I really try and control and get what I want, life is a fucking mess. It really is. I'm usually filled with some sort of anger or frustration or suffering because it's not the way I want it to be or the way I think it should be. It makes life kind of a drudgery, when instead life these days is much more of an exciting adventure. I don't know what's going on. And when I look at my life the way it is, it's pretty fucking good. It really is. It's pretty good. Once again, to get here, I had to be willing to make some changes. I had to be willing to look at my life with truth, which was that, for one, my marriage was not healthy. We were not doing well together. Neither of us wanted to make changes, and yet keeping things the way they were would have been a slow death for both of us. I just actually had a spectacular conversation with my ex-husband, whom I still love dearly. I heard people say it for years and years and years. Oh, we're so much better friends now that we're not together anymore than we were before. And I used to think, oh, that will never be my experience. And yet it is presently my experience. The things between him and I are better than I ever imagined they could be again. So what do I know? But I had to be willing to accept change and to kind of do the things that I didn't want to do, which was leave, end things, move in a direction that I really didn't want to, accept life for what it was and not the way that I wanted it to be. I could look at my experience of getting divorced and having to sell the house and having to move out of the state of Colorado. I have looked at that for many, many months prior to this as sadness and loss, and I've been grieving. I'm grateful that I've been going through that process and allowing myself to experience that stuff and honestly feel sadness around it and feel my feelings with it, not shove them down or really judge myself harshly for not sitting in this grand place of acceptance through the whole thing, because I don't think that's the way it works. At least for me, where I am now, I can say today, all right, where I am right now is better. It's better. I guess that's what we needed to do to get to this place for both of us. I believe he seems to be happier, and that's fine. More letting go, more accepting of change. Life is short. I don't want to miss out on it by holding on to the way I want things to be, and instead staying open to the way they seem to be moving, or just the way they are. I like the acronym AFGO, as life has its challenges. I can see things as an AFGO, another fucking growth opportunity. Sometimes I welcome it with a smile. Sometimes I welcome it with tears. Sometimes I don't welcome it at all, but I do have that perspective more often than not. And all the stuff helps. The therapy helps. Another thing we talked about was like tiptoeing towards positive change. I am slowly, very slowly at times, moving forward. This mental challenge for me lately, which is really about the transitioning of the career. I know I'm not the only one out there. Where are you changing? Are you changing a career? What have you got to tell me about your experience of having changed a career? Is it ever too late? I don't think it is, but I would love to hear other people's experience on how they worked through the fear around changing. Also, just even the identity stuff. There's a part of me inside that wants to say, like I said, stay safe, of Angie the waitress. That's what I've done, and I look forward to still continuing to do it. I do enjoy it on a on a much smaller basis. I can't do it full time anymore. I know that I don't have it in me, but I love the idea of, I can't wait to go back to Colorado and pick up some shifts at the diner and work with Fletcher and Jason and the rest of the crew at Red Maple Catering and spend time with the Fantastic Weddings, but yet then incorporate my other stuff. I have this opportunity to live this very authentic life this podcast deal, hopefully getting involved in some more music around it, bringing in my eBay business along with it. It's exciting. As I said, it's taken some time to get here. I'm grateful for every bit of experience that has come prior to this and a willingness to look at the past with a hindsight perspective of, okay, that happened. So, not to say so I could get here, but that happened. And this is where I am. Through challenging experiences, I am presently in this exciting place right now where I really don't know where I'm going, and I need all the support that I can get. I need my therapist. I need the ketamine infusions. I need my fellowship support systems. So please, out there, don't go this life experience alone. For goodness sake, reach out to your people, your friends, your family. If you can't reach out to your direct family, make some new family. There's somebody out there who definitely wants to support you in some way. Let's see what else has been on my mind. I've got some things coming up. I will say I was bummed. I was supposed to go to a concert last Friday and go see Nathaniel Rateliff and the Night Sweats. And unfortunately, I guess COVID found them and they had to cancel their concert at the Live Bank Oak Bank Pavilion. I need to try and get it right. I do have an upcoming concert this Friday, hopefully. Humphreys McGee at the Greenfield Lake Amphitheater. My brother and I got tickets, and I'm pretty excited about that. Although, as I mentioned, Hurricane Ian is supposedly coming through, which may affect that show. That's Friday night, and the storm is supposed to be coming in this weekend. Who knows? I'm not used to hurricanes. I'm used to a blizzard and usually pretty welcoming about the blizzard. I don't know how I feel about the rain and the wind, but it will be whatever it will be. But it would be exciting. I feel like I could really use some music. I have also, though, in the meantime, my bro and I have been getting to a lot of movies, really taking in a lot of movies. Here, at least in Wilmington, they have a lot of $5 movies on Tuesdays. So we've been checking out all the movies on Tuesdays. And we recently also went to, at the Regal Mayfair movie theater, they had a surprise movie. It was $5. You go in, you don't know what it is. It's a new release or something that hasn't been released yet. And so last night we went to see what we found out was called The Greatest Beer Run Ever. I was very impressed. I enjoyed it. It actually had, I believe, Zac Efron, Russell Crowe, Bill Murray. It was a Farrelly movie, not a Farrelly Brothers, I don't think, but one of the Farrelly brothers. And it was based around, the storyline was based around the Vietnam War. Most of it was involved like a particular community who lived in New York. I really enjoyed it. It was kind of a heavy, serious movie with some comedic undertones. If you know the Farrelly brothers, I think you'll understand what kind of movies they put out. And I do believe it was well worth seeing. What else have I got? I'm going to kind of just include, of course, a little bit of Poddecks, and I'm going to connect it to the change stuff. Poddecks, it's a great conversation starter, something to use if you're having an interview with somebody. Travis Brown created it, and they do have an app for it, or you could actually have hard deck copies, and it's just different decks on different topics. So these questions I pulled out of the philosophy deck. And this one, I'm going to start with, why do we do things we do not like to do? Connecting that with change. I think, I know for me, why do I do things that I do not like to do? Generally, it's because I don't want to change. I either don't want to deal with what's required to say no. You know, the change that will come with my setting a boundary or having to deal with somebody else's reaction to my saying no, perhaps. I suppose some things that I do not like to do have to do with responsibility. I don't necessarily like cleaning the litter box, but I do it because it's helpful and it's a way to participate in my household. It's doing my part for sure. But I guess when I look at the question from a deeper perspective, why do I do things that I do not like to do? Generally, it is straight up because I don't want to change. To do things differently or to not do them requires a shift in my behavior. Like I said, my codependence gets in the way or whatever it is. So simply, that's it. And then there was another question. What book have you read multiple times? I have talked about this gentleman so much. Michael Singer has been life-changing for me. Oh, he's really been wonderful and has really put me on a path of changing behavior. The Untethered Soul. If you have not listened to it, I highly suggest reading it or listening to it. I'm a big audiobook fan and I do use Audible. That's the app that I use and I love it. I have the membership that gives me a book every other month. I get 1 credit and that seems to work very well for me. So The Untethered Soul. So much about changing my reaction to things. I have been putting into practice pretty intensely the low-hanging fruit suggestion. It's so much about living life as it is, not fighting it. I don't want to resist life. And so he highly suggests starting with two practices. When I'm in the car, start practicing by not being thrown for a loop by the person driving in front of me. And that has been, I have found myself very okay with overall somebody not using their blinker or driving slow or whatever it is that they're doing that has me in an impatient tizzy. I'm listening to my audiobooks. I'm really relaxing. Where am I going? I'm in such a hurry. It sounds kind of small and perhaps ridiculous, but it's been life-changing. I have been in the car with some fairly impatient people, and I kind of chuckle as to my control issues or my old control issues or their control issues around why the person in front of them is doing what they're doing. Who cares? Whatever. I slow down. Where are we going? We don't have any place to be in such a hurry. Let's just enjoy the journey. We're driving around in a car, for goodness sake, on a pile of dirt that is spinning around in the universe. It is pretty amazing. And then the second practice is the weather. As I even talk about this, there was a time when I would have been so upset about the fact of possibly not getting to go to this concert because maybe it's raining. And I've already thought about the fact that I have a raincoat. If the concert goes on, if it's a rain or shine thing, I'm going to go. It's warm here in the Carolinas for the most part. I'm going to wear my raincoat and stick it out for as long as I can. Maybe the concert will be canceled. And then they'll reschedule it and I will just do something else. Stay home and work on my eBay or record a podcast or who knows. I just love that I am so much more flexible and so less reactionary to living life on life's terms. I used to hate that fucking slogan. Life on life's terms. I did. I hated it. And now, once again, it's as though life is a wild adventure. I want to put it out there that I'm not saying any of this stuff pretending to be somebody who is unaffected by life. I was at work the other day and I was crying in the cooler. Not tears of sadness. It was interesting. I was listening to my Spotify playlist I love Spotify, specifically for the playlist. When I listen to my playlist, I have one in particular. It's called Angie's Jam, and it has about 21 hours worth of music on it. But as I'm listening to it, each song that comes up, I'm like, oh, I love that song. Oh, I love this song. Oh, this is such a great song. And then I realize, oh yeah, because it's my playlist. I have picked every song. So I happened to be listening to it at work, and Bruce Springsteen was playing Thunder Road, and I found myself moved and kind of crying these tears of joy over the new opportunities that are in front of me. Didn't have anything to do with the song. I wasn't crying. I do love that song. It wasn't the song that was bringing the tears of joy to my eyes, but it was that I have this opportunity to live an exciting life. We all do. On whatever our life situation is, there is opportunity. It doesn't mean it's easy, but it's always there, always within our grasp. It does come with consequences, and there may be loss that comes with it. And this life that I'm living right now did come with great loss. And I am here today really, I guess, believing that, first of all, I wouldn't have this podcast. If I was still in the same situation, if I was still back in Colorado, married, living the life that I was living prior to this, I wouldn't have this podcast. And I don't want to go back to that. I do know that. So I'm your cheerleader for keep moving forward. Keep moving forward and get on or embrace or find like a spiritual path of some sort, whatever that looks like for you, because I just find it gives purpose to everything. Spiritual growth, it really is the shiznit. It gives purpose to everything when things aren't going my way. Well, geez, okay, I'll grow through it instead of just fighting it and making it all about the material world. I am learning and growing and changing and hopefully able to share with somebody else. I hope somebody else is getting out of this just some hope and inspiration to look at their life situation with a different perspective, perhaps. As mentioned, not the way we want it to be. Maybe you're dealing with great loss, loss of a loved one. Somebody has transitioned. I know people out there are definitely dealing with that. I kind of think that might be it for today. I have definitely jabbered on, and I hope that you've enjoyed my conversation on changes. I'm going to include a few different things in my show notes. Langhorne Slim, I think that's his name, and he has a song called Changes. I love it. I may include some Chris Cornell Seasons. I think that might actually be Audio Slave or one of his musical incarnations. So I'm going to include some music. I'm going to highly suggest that you listen to some Michael Singer, The Untethered Soul. I believe his other book is called The Surrender Experiment. Surrender can sound like such a hopeless place. And I guess the truth is for me is that to surrender, there is a quite a bit of settling into some hopelessness. Like I cannot change people, places, and things. I can change my reaction to them or learn to respond to them. And that's where I get out of any sort of a place of powerlessness per se. That's exciting to me. I don't have to fix anything. I don't want really life to be the way I want it to be. I would shortchange myself. I'm excited about the possibilities that lie in front of me, and they require work. One of my biggest ones, like I said right now, is, and I feel I'm getting good guidance from all directions, that it is, I shouldn't even say possibly, it is time to move out of one career and into another. I don't know what it's going to look like. I don't know how it's going to play out, but I have some trust in my own skills and in what I feel like the universe is presenting me. Jabberjaw time is over. Changes, turn and face the strange. Changes. It does seem strange. The unknown is strange. But don't sit in misery. even if you're choosing to stay in a situation that is not necessarily as you'd like it to be, figure out how to make it the best that it can be. And I wish for everyone, or I send out the vibes for less fear of letting go of something that is no longer serving you, no longer working for you. I was so afraid to leave my marriage. I was so afraid for the marriage to be over. I didn't know what it would look like, and I was actually very afraid of the emotions that were going to come with it. And that kept me stuck for a long time until I was more afraid of staying where I was. I'm grateful that fear became heavier for me, more motivating to get out for both of us. Because life is, like I said, right now it is not the way I expected it to be. I didn't expect it to feel this good. Here I am, living a whole new life, getting a new shot at the earthly experience. I hope the same for everybody, even if it's just that your experience that you're in becomes rejuvenated in some way. So for now, I think that's it. Thanks for listening. As always, thanks for listening, for spending some time with me. Check out my website for sure. Subscribe, rate, reviews. That what I've heard it said. But I would love it. Please sign up for my email. Eventually, if I get some people, thank you to my Aunt Sarah. She is the first one who has signed up on the website to subscribe to it, and I haven't done anything yet. I would love to build the website and have some contests and send out some prizes and do some really cool shit. So keep joining me. Thanks for supporting me. That's it for now. Until next time. Bye. So we've reached the end of today's episode. Thanks so very much for listening. It's now time to reconnect to planet Earth and all that comes with living on the blue ball. I'd love to hear your ideas for future episode topics, along with any and all positive and/or constructive feedback. Please feel free to contact me at ashysbadass@gmail.com. Thanks again for spending some time with me and allowing me to share myself with you. Until next time, please be gentle with yourselves, be kind to animals, and do all you can to allow your authentic selves to shine brightly.